and welcome back to Dave and Ryan Review. Yeah, we're back again. Had a tiny break, obviously a lot shorter than our original break of what was it, two years, 4 years, whatever it was, Dave. Um, but this week we're going to be talking about, discussing, reviewing Stranger Things. So first of all, how's it going, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited. As always, I think this is going to be an interesting one because I don't know. We normally do. We don't normally talk about it beforehand.
Yeah.
I think I think there's things to pick out of this one personally. I love it. I also see a lot of flaws in it at the same time. But I ultimately love it. So don't see it as a knock by any stretch of any.
Yeah, I think you make an interesting point. I don't think we've really talked about it that much, compared to other things that we've talked at length about for a long period of time. This one is maybe a cursory kind of discussion about whether or not we liked it and things like that, but not really diving into, because obviously there's so much to talk about. It might be easy to sort of break it down into, you know, how do you rank your seasons? Who's your favorite character? What are you looking forward to? What's sort of been your favorite storyline? Things like that. It might be a bit easier to sort of piece it up
Yeah.
like that. So I think first of all, yeah, how would you rank the series in season order?
So, in no disrespect whatsoever, I think I go one is the best, and then it just ever so slightly declines for me. Um, but I think in season four, there's definitely some highs that the likes of the Vecna character, finding out who that is, that brings it right back up. But I think for me, I like the simplicity of season one. Less characters, it's more of an unknown at the time. It's the acting with Winona Ryder just losing her son was enough for me to keep me engaged, rather than it being big and scary and all of that stuff. So that's my sort of take on the seasons. What about you?
So what yours is one, two, three, four, is it then essentially?
I think so. I mean, just yeah, that's kind of how my brain works.
Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one. I I like season one, but some of the other ones I enjoy. Probably overall, probably one for quality is pretty consistent. But I would say maybe even four was better than it because the highs were so much higher than the highs of one. I would say. Um, some of the moments were just unreal in season four. I might go 4-1-3-2. That's how I might go.
Fair
Um,
enough. I guess it comes down to what you're enjoying because I think there's a lot going on in every season,
yeah,
and
and
it's what storyline, what character, what arc, what monster. It
yeah,
could be anything.
absolutely. And I know that I didn't realize, but people didn't love, or there seems to be some gripes about series three, which I was enamored by. I loved it, but I think it's because I have such an affinity for all things 80s, and obviously that sort of turned it turned the dial up to 11 on all of that, with the colors and the more, and obviously it's way over the top, but I just enjoyed that. I love that whole thing. Season two is probably my least favorite because it has the worst episode I think out of all the seasons.
Can
um
I before you say I feel like I know what you're going to say, and I felt this when I watched it, and then I told it to someone, and they went, "Oh yeah, everyone hates this episode."
yeah, so
Is it
I'm
the one? Is it
yeah,
the
go on.
one with? Is it number 8, like her sister or something?
Yeah, it's
Okay, yeah,
terrible. It's
I felt
absolutely awful because it feels like everything comes to a screeching halt. There's this whole side thing. It's all nonsense. it, we never see this person ever again. It's because they understand that this was crap, and it was really bad, and it was not good. And I remember just thinking like, ugh, what was that? And then it sort of got better at the end. So it was really strange, and I don't know. Maybe they had some sort of new writer in. I have no idea, but that one was very odd. that episode. So season two, just because even though season two has Bob and it has some amazing moments, the demo dogs has some amazing moments in it, and that's what I think. I don't think any of them are garbage. Any of the seasons, they're all at least good. Um, and yeah, it goes from there. So
Yeah.
so that's the sort of how I see it. So I would say, okay, so we move on from that. Who's your favorite character? Has that changed throughout the seasons? Has someone gone, oh, I hate that person, and then by the watching series four, you're like, oh, I love them so much, or has it always been the same?
I think my characters sort of change.
Mm,
I don't have sort of one person that's on the screen that I'm always looking forward to seeing. I think 11 in the season one and two,
mm,
her acting was unbelievable. Billy Bobby Brown, she never broke character. Um, very traumatized kid. You don't really know why early on. I was fascinated with what they were going to do with her.
mm.
I always liked Hopper as well. I think he's been pretty consistent all the way through. He's sort of this damaged cop, um, and I really like Winona Ryder in the first sort of season, especially where she's lost her son and she's made to look crazy, and oh, he's in the walls and he's talking to me through the lights, and I just love that because it's like she's getting what she needs. She's getting enough, but other people, even her other son, is like, yeah, you're mental.
Yeah,
And I love that dynamic of her trying to prove, no, look at these lights. It's like, yeah, so what? The lights. So I think those three characters come to mind. I really like the boy who's in love with 11. I can't remember his name now.
Mike.
Yeah, for me, it felt very like ET. I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah. They clearly, the guys that wrote it, the Duffer Brothers, they clearly love all those kinds of old films. They
Mm,
clearly love them because there's so many callbacks to all those different kinds of films.
yeah,
Goonies, E.T., um, what the other ones? Oh God, it's just so many, so many of these sort of old films that they absolutely love. Obviously, I can only think of two right now, which is great. But they clearly love that genre, that era of film because there's so many homages
yeah.
to that stuff. Um, I'd say so. So for me, I think Hopper the whole way through. I loved his story, that sort of gruff guy, and then he's looking after 11, and then he sort of sacrifices himself, and he sort of he sort of allows himself to open up to um, Joyce. Is it Joyce? Yeah, it's Joyce. Um, and and then he goes into the prison, and he's just like wrecked, and the guy, it's amazing. It's just such a great story. And then obviously, I got really emotional when he came back at the end of four, and you see him reunite with 11. So
Mm,
Hopper, absolutely. I love all the boys. I find it hard to differentiate between, especially the three main boys, um, Lucas, Mike, and Dustin. I find it very difficult to say one of them is because they work so well together. I think that the more
I,
they're on
I,
screen
I,
together, that I enjoy.
I'm so glad you said that because I've seen a lot of people and they go, oh yeah, Dustin's my favorite, Dustin, and he is great. But I think it's about all four of them, isn't it? Complement
Yeah,
each other. Now,
absolutely.
I didn't like. Is it Bill, the one who goes
Will.
missing?
Yeah, I was
I
about to talk about that because I have
didn't like.
I have a theory of that, and I wonder if you would agree. But just finish off quickly the three boys, and I really like Nancy Nancy and Steve and how they,
Oh, Steve
yeah,
Stevens would be one of my favorite characters.
great character arc. He was a complete douchebag at the beginning, and then he becomes the hero later on, and very funny.
Yeah.
Him and Dustin together is very funny. Um, So my theory on Will is obviously they cast this kid to be Will in the first series, but he didn't actually have to do anything because he was just sort of, you saw him like twice and he was just crying or scared. And I wonder if they didn't know whether he was going to die or not at the end. Obviously, he survives at the end and comes into the cast, but I don't. I think he's the weakest sort of actor out of the lot, out of all of them.
Mm.
Um, he just doesn't fit with the other guys, and I think they're so full of personality. I bet he's a great actor, but these guys are so good that it sort of highlights how weak he is in that personality
Mm.
stakes, and that might be the writing thing, but I do think his personality, his character, his acting just isn't up to the level of the other guys, and I think it
Mm.
really stands out. And I think there's no bad. I don't think there's any particularly bad acting amongst all of them, all the cast. I think everyone's pretty on point, but he specifically is always quite painful when he's on screen, and it's like he's quite wooden, like compared, like everyone else feels quite natural in the moment, and he's quite wooden. And I don't know. I don't know whether that is on purpose. I don't know, but I still, I still appreciate the character, but just in
Do
terms
you know?
of relating to the other guys, I just feel a bit like, oh, he's just not matching up with the other three.
Do you know what you just reminded me of? And I think that's a good point that I never thought of. You remind me of the film The Hangover, where the guy is, you got them all going on their trip, and then the one guy goes missing for about 80% of the film, doesn't he? Because they're trying to find
Mightn't
him.
be longer, but yeah, yeah,
And you're like, and in my head, I was like, oh, well, oh man, I want to see them with him more. But he's actually quite a boring character, isn't he?
yeah, he is, and that's it. You know what? That is exactly it. That is it. You
I
love the
think
three
that's
characters. The other three are so good. Actually, he might be okay as a character or okay as an actor, but the other three are so good that it just overshadows anything this guy does. And it's unfortunate. And I think the same thing is happening because these guys are so full of energy, so full of charisma, so funny, so warm, and they're just great on screen. Kid actors are really difficult, you know, and they can be really super annoying, but they managed to find three of these guys that aren't, and they're all great. And obviously 11 is great as well, but the three guys obviously have to do most of the talking because 11 can't really speak, especially in the first couple seasons. She can't speak properly. Um, and they found these guys who are just so good, and I just feel sorry for the other guy who just doesn't feel like he's at their level, um,
yeah,
which is
good
which
point.
is
I agree with that. Yeah.
um, Yeah, so that's sort of favorite characters. Do you have a particular favorite storyline, or do you have a particular favorite musical moment? Because there are quite a few musical moments throughout all of the series. Obviously, it really blew up in this last one, but there's ones all the way all throughout, and I wonder if you have any of those. But first of all, first favorite a favorite story in the show or moment.
I The first thing that comes to mind is probably the reveal of number one being Vecna
Mm,
in season four, which was excellent. That was so well done.
mm.
I think, well, I didn't see that coming. I know I've got a friend that did, but yeah, when you see him go into the upside down and, get warped into the monster, and you're like, oh, it's not a monster, it's a, whatever. Yeah, I think that was great. I think the musical moments were quite lost on me.
Mm,
Um, I love the intro music, like,
yeah.
and I was just so I just couldn't stop watching this. I tell you what, I've only started watching this year,
Mm.
so a bit
Oh,
like This Is
really?
Us. Yeah, because
Oh, wow.
for me, I just thought it was a scary thing. All I saw everywhere was merchandise with monsters, and I'm not into like big monsters,
Mm.
scary stuff, like a bit like yourself. And then, Jack actually said, this is actually not like that, and it's really good acting. And I was like, is it actually worth watching? He was like, you could really enjoy it. And upon watching it now, um, I sort of said to my wife, I was like, oh, I'm sad that we couldn't watch this together. And she was like, oh, it's scary. And I was like, it's really not.
Mm.
That's not what this is about. How have we even mentioned a monster in the whole of this? I think you mentioned the
No.
demi, got
Oh,
the
yeah, the
dog,
Demodogs. Yeah,
but yes, it is a horror, but it is so much more.
that's just a small
Um,
part of it. That's maybe like 10% of it. Um,
it's a very small part of it. It helps drive it. Um,
yeah,
you never, I don't. You barely see the in the first season, you barely see
Not
anything, do
until
you?
like the last couple, not until really the last, to see it like da like yeah. I think you
But
might see glimpses of it before that, and you hear it a lot, don't you? But
mm,
I'm not sure you actually see it till near the end. But no, I agree. I mean, my wife put me on to watching it. Pretty sure I think she maybe watched the first episode and said, "Oh, I think you're going to really like this." We were back. I mean, this was literally like 6 years ago, um, and she was like, because we were back at our old flat, and she was like, "Oh, we should watch this," and um, and yeah, watched it, and it was like, "Oh, okay, this is really good." So really enjoyed it. It was it just came onto me. I'll say one of my favorite storylines is I really, you know what? I really like Billy. In where he's this bully guy, and his whole conflict, and then you sort of see his life prior, and he actually wasn't this bad guy. He just got in this bad situation with his dad or whatever, and actually he just wanted to, deep down he wanted to be a good guy, and he fought against the mind flayer in the third one, and ends up obviously sacrificing himself um, in the end, which I did enjoy Billy, and he's such a good actor as well when he was like, we did this all for you, and it's really creepy, and he's really good, and he's such a good actor, and so just kind of terrifying at times when he's chasing the kids like he's like bloody Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees or something. Like he's just crazy. So I enjoyed the Billy one. I enjoyed um I enjoyed the what was his name? Oh my god, I'm completely. I know the actor's name because I've watched it so many times. The guy that ends up playing Metallica on the
oh yeah,
on
yeah,
the
that's a
thing.
big thing.
Um, his oh my god, what is his name? I know it's name's Joseph Gwynn, but I can't remember. Eddie,
Dustin.
Eddie. There we go.
That's yeah,
Eddie.
yeah, yeah.
And I enjoyed his character arc in season four. Obviously, it was only for that short period of time, but I enjoyed that as well. Um, Musical moment, one of my favorites, and even though obviously the Metallica one is incredible, it's such a good moment where he's playing Metallica. But I always go back to season three, Never Ending Story, Dustin singing to his girlfriend, where she's like, I want to hear it. And he's like, we're trying to save the world. I can't sing that now. She's like, that's it. I'm not helping. He's like, ah, and he's like, oh, okay. He's like, turn around. And it's just so funny. And then it cuts to Hopper later in the song, and he's just sitting there listening to this thing on the radio, like, I'm risking my life and I'm probably going to die. And this is one of the last things I'm going to hear is this kid singing Never Ending Story. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on with my life? Like, you can just tell he's so annoyed. And it's a brilliant moment. I love that bit.
Um,
Yeah.
the Max almost dying scene
Yeah,
is
that's a very good. They had two big, massive musical moments in the season four.
that that moment was edge of your seat stuff.
Yeah,
You were glued to the screen. That was really the breaking of the bones and all of that stuff is
oh,
horrible.
terrible.
So it's haunting. I remember when I watched season four, episode one, and you see the first person. I was like, "What am I watching?"
Yeah, the running up the hill moment, because obviously that song just blew up, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I've never heard this song before." I'd heard the song previously, but obviously set in that moment, it had like felt like there was some orchestra behind it or something like to make it more epic, and obviously what was happening, she's escaping. It was really good. That was a really good moment as well. Um, One thing I love about this show is you can really see. I always I've heard this before, and I've started seeing what the people are talking about. So prior, I'd heard someone say you can really see the money they spent on the screen. You can see it, and what they meant by that, like, this is a really expensive show, and you can really see it, and you can see some things that are super expensive, and you're like, I can't see it. Like, where's this money getting spent? Because it's definitely not on the CGI. It's definitely not on the shooting locations or whatever. Then the money's not going there. Whereas this, you can see every penny
Mm.
on the screen. Like it is immaculate. It is movie quality CGI, better than some of the Marvel stuff we've seen, which is crazy to even talk about, to even compare. It's better than, especially because obviously season one starts off quite small, doesn't it? You only see a little bit of CGI stuff, and as they've gone on, it's got bigger and bigger, and it hasn't really dropped in quality. And especially
No.
season four, it was crazy. Like
Well,
the
that helicopter stuff,
Yeah,
and
it was insane. Like you can see it, even like the snow rusher thing, and it was
mm,
crazy. Like the plane, like it was crazy what we were watching, and it's like this is a TV show. This is bananas, like what we're watching. So I've really appreciated that you can see it. You can see they put so much effort to make it look really really good. Um,
mm,
and even just that the bit where the army come to try and take Jonathan, Mike, and Will, and there's like shooting, like bam, bam, they're coming through the house and they're trying to get them. That was all shot in like one take, and yeah, it was amazing. Like the
oh,
action,
wow.
it was really good. You can watch them rehearse it. They rehearsed it over and over and over and over again to try and get it, and then they managed to get the shot. And it was unbelievable. Um,
Do you have a favorite like monster?
oh, good one. Favorite monster. I mean, Vecna was horrifying the first time you see
Well, he's
him,
still,
and
he's
it's like,
still there, isn't he?
yeah, I mean, Vecna is horrifying, disgusting. Like it was like oozing. He's like wet and and you see like things are pulsating off him. The fact that that was a real suit and then they CGI'd on certain things to
Mm.
make it look even more real. I mean, it is horrifying. I remember when we first saw it, it was like me and my wife were watching it, and we were just like, I forgot how scary this show was, like how scary it can be. Like it just,
Mm.
and I'm like, whoa, what? And we were watching this just before going to bed. It was like Jesus, like I don't need to see Vecna like standing there and he's like comes down like a spider and he's like, "Meh," and it's like awful. So yeah, like Vecna's pretty up there. I did think, I tell you what was disgusting in season three, the the smaller version of the Mind Flayer that was sort of like got like gobbling up people's flesh and stuff. It was
Well,
disgusting.
like the rats
Yeah, it
and
was disgusting. Like it was like they bought the parents there or whatever, and they're like, what's happening? And the thing just sort of like blah, blah, it's like ambles over like something from the thing. You've seen the thing, haven't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that. That's that kind of disgusting monster, and it sort of just sat on them, blobbed all over them, and just sort of it just sucked all of their essence. It was awful.
Yeah, I thought
It was disgusting.
my favorite monster probably doesn't sound that scary now because you've said those two. But I was always quite scared of the mind flayer. Like when you just see it in the distance, like the cloud, that's just
Oh,
looking
you
like an
see the cloud of it.
like the octopus, and it's
Mm.
just like it
That is
knows you're
that
there.
was really scary. Was it the end of series two when it's like
But it's,
I'll be watching you and it like flashes, the lightning goes and you see the
yeah,
silhouette and it's like oh, like you're like
yeah.
oh goodness.
I think just like it being more of a presence, and then it's like got the underground tunnels.
Yeah. Yes.
I
Yeah.
always, I think it's things are always more scary when something isn't happening.
Hmm.
It's like like a bomb in the room that's not going off. That's scary. But when it goes
Well,
off, well,
even in the first series where Will is getting taken, he's being chased and we can't see what's
anything.
chasing him, and he's just like we have no idea what's chasing. We can just hear noises. He sort of sees something and he's running and he gets in a shed and you're like you can just hear and you just see the lock come off and then the light goes out and then bang he's gone and you're like whoa what just like that's really scary. We didn't see anything and that's really scary. So
That's what I mean. I enjoyed the first season, and especially when she's got all those lights up and following them, and it's typing out messages for her, and like his messages like run, get out, or whatever. That is like haunting, isn't it?
mm,
It's like
yeah.
coming through the wall for her.
I was in terms of obviously there's a few deaths in the show. I still think we're going to get quite a few in the final series, final season. I think we're going to get a handful. Maybe we can speculate at the end of this. Um, but some of the deaths, for me, the standout obviously is Bob. Um, from the second series when he looks like, oh, he's gonna make it. He made it, Bob. Yeah. And then that demo dog just bang, and it's just mauling him, and it's awful. And it's like they're watching, like no, and he's just getting like torn apart by this by
Mm.
that dog, and it's awful. Because obviously Bob gets done dirty in the first series where no one cares.
I found that awful because that felt like quite real. And
Yeah,
then,
like that could actually
you know,
happen. Yeah.
and it's like later on, it's like, oh, she went missing, and she goes to see the family, but she can't tell her.
Mm.
Like that was something about Barb's death was awful.
I think it's because it was just so like uneventful. Like she just got taken, and that was it. And then
Mm.
you just see her like mangled corpse later on, and which is horrible, right? It's absolutely, again, it's that sort of like we didn't see it happen. It's terrifying. She just goes. You just sort of see, you hear something stalking, and then boom, she's gone, and no one cares. Like no one cares at all. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just that sort of uneventful kind of thing. It's like one of those weird, you put me onto a show that I literally cannot watch now because it's just too much. That unresolved mysteries or unexplained mystery show. Um, I can't watch it, Dave, because it's that kind of like that kind of nothing's really happening. You don't know what happened, and something crazy has happened, but we have no idea how it happened, and it's really horrible. And I couldn't. I just had to stop watching it.
Is that the one where the guy, like there was a
Fell through
hole
the
in the
roof. Yeah, fell through the roof, or the one that where the person got like taken from like a hairdresser's or something, and then we found
yeah.
her bones like in the next state over or something. Like it was crazy, and it was like literally there was like a 10-minute gap where this could have happened, and somehow it is. And this, yeah, and the guy was like, "I've got her ashes. I don't really care." And it's like, okay, this guy probably killed her, but we don't know what happened. And yeah, too
It's,
many of
yeah,
them.
so annoying.
Yeah, but I got freaked out. I tried to watch him with my wife, and it was all the French one where the guy killed all his family, and then like went into the mountains and just disappeared forever, and no one
Yeah,
found.
yeah.
It was like what?
And they were under the porch or
Yeah,
something,
they were
weren't
under
they?
the porch. Yeah, they're all dead, and for some reason this guy who was a normal guy one day brutally murdered all his family for seemingly no reason, and then just drove off, walked into the mountains, disappeared forever. No
Didn't
one
they
knows.
like? Isn't there like footage of him at an ATM taking withdrawing some cash, and then that's it, and you just see him walking out into the mountains? Yeah,
Yeah, and that's it.
yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah,
Very weird. Very
that's what I
weird.
mean. So that kind of thing freaked me out. So when that happens in the show, it does freak me out as well. That kind of unexplained, disappearance. Someone just disappears. Obviously, we don't find out what happens, but the way, the nature in which they disappear, always gets me. So yeah, no, it was it's the show is. I think the show's at its best when it sort of balances the sort of fun with the kind of scary, creepy stuff where you see a little bit of that, but there's always that feeling of. So I think I can understand why some people in the third one were like, oh, it wasn't really scary enough. It was quite bubbly and fun and like, hey, 80s and we're going to the movies and Scoops ice cream and Lucas's little sister, it was all that kind of stuff, and I get it, but
It felt like Rocky 3 for me, where it became more Hollywood
yes,
and, yeah,
yes,
colourful. That doesn't
yes,
mean I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed 11 trying to be a young girl with Max
yeah.
and all of that stuff. I do love it, and I was glued every episode. I wanted to watch the next one straight away.
Mm.
So even though I think it went sort of down. It's not gone down much,
Mm.
and it's still got some really great moments. All the way through. It's really well written, and it's got a lot of love that's been put into it.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Any
Um,
final
Final thoughts. I guess just a little bit of speculation, a little bit of complete and utter, uh, just
what predicting?
wild speculation for the next series because we have no idea. It'll probably all be wrong, but that could be quite fun. Obviously, so it's the first time we're reviewing something that's sort of still going. So series five, maybe we come back and just do series five. Maybe, who knows? That could be a good idea. But I feel like season five they're not. I don't think it's gonna be a while. It might be like a couple of years to be honest, till it comes out. Um, but I think we're gonna lose. Um, I think Steve's gonna die. I think um, Will's gonna die because he's still kind of connected somehow to the upside down. I think Hopper will finally die because we've got a couple of fake outs. But I think
Mm,
this time he will actually die. But this time, like he will it will be, you know, the final thing to save everyone, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, that's how I see it. Like they managed to obviously get through whatever happens, and they go off and start living their lives. I do think even after this is finished, in 10, 15 years, they will come back and do another one. Now that they're all older, because obviously you've got young actors. In 10 years, they'll still only be 30. So go for it. I think that's
yeah.
probably what they'll do. But yeah, that's how I see it. That's who I think is off they're going to die at the end of by the end of series five. That's my prediction.
All right. I've not thought about this, so you've put me on the spot. But I think we're going to have multiple battles going on. So I think you're going to have a team of people in the Upside Down. I think you're going to have a team of people in the real world, and I think you're going to have 11 and maybe some others in like like in the mind. Like when she's in the floor's like
Oh,
whoa.
okay, yeah.
I think there's going to be like some sort of multiple battle, bit like Infinity War, where it's all going on. I think they're going to do it like big, um, and Vecna's going to be in control of every single one of those things.
Mm.
They eventually beat him, but yes, sacrifice. I could see 11 dying as well.
I just
Or
feel
one
like they want
for
to
mine.
have the nice ending because if they want to come back later on, you're going to need 11. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I think she probably will
My
survive. Maybe losing
my
her
fear,
powers, but she'll be alive.
my fear is that they're going to power her up too much, and it'll be like, well, why didn't she do that in the first four seasons? Like maybe she gets the ability to fly or something silly. But I don't
I,
know.
I, I think even if she does get a power up, it will be a temporary power up
Yeah,
because it will, and by the end, she may even just lose all her powers. She'll just be a normal girl,
well,
as
that
we
would be
think,
cool.
as we think, and then they come back in 10 years and actually she's back in the game. But yeah, that's how I think anyway. Um,
Okay.
yeah, all right. Well, that was good. And really enjoyable actually. I enjoyed talking about that with you. Um, and obviously we'll be back next week with another review. So that's me signing off, and thanks for tuning in.